Exactly.
And they really kind of dove into that in a good way of saying that it's still amazing that you have 50% of people, and in some cases like 48% with Dr. Oz, and I want to say it was 50%, like 55% with the doctors, that really believed 100% that the information they were getting from them was conclusive and it could work for them.
Well, see, most people don't like to physically go into a doctor anyway. Mm-hmm. And so if I can just watch TV and get a diagnosis, some people are satisfied with that. It's like going to church. If I can watch it on TV, why do I have to leave? You know what I mean? Like some people's like, I got my daily dose. I've watched the Potter House. Yeah. And so some people remedy going to the doctor instead of physically going because it's a chore for people. And then you don't want to go. It's just a headache. And so if I can watch it on TV and get a diagnosis, I would never do it.
I wouldn't either.
But probably that's the rationale behind why so many people are doing it.
And one of the other things that it talked about that I think is really, really true is that besides the fact that a lot of people don't like to go to the doctor,
yes,
they said there is a certain amount of sincerity that comes across from the doctors and doctors' eyes that it's the kind of bedside manner that most people would want from their primary care physician. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of times when you go to your doctor, people feel as if they're talking over their head or they're talking down to them, and they lack any real form of compassion. But you notice when you watch Dr. Oz, he just seems like he's so connected and invested, mm-hmm, and hey, you should really try this because it could work for you. Mm-hmm. They said, and it's that compassion in many cases that draws people in, not realizing, but it's general.
Right.
It's meant to get you to watch.
Exactly. And this is where people need to draw the line between having a little common sense. I mean, like I said, ringworm, I'll try the butter or whatever your recommendation is. Wheatgrass, cleared up, whatever it is, I'll do that. But when it comes to really serious physical issues, you have to know that the doctors and Dr. Oz cannot diagnose that, and you have to go see somebody.
Unless he could see you one-on-one.
Right.
Because that's where your whole thing of a primary applies in. But I'm not shocked that there's this trend of people, because those shows are very popular. Mm-hmm. And I'm not shocked because, you know, we currently live in a lot, especially with Dr. Oz, he seems like he likes to give you a lot of homeopathic things to do to kind of be more natural, which is nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, I do some things that are like that because I think it's better for you. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people believe and that they could actually do just these things and it's going to solve the problem. And it's like, well, maybe, but how about we not take the risk and go to the doctor?
Yes.
And then say, you know, I heard about this particular treatment. What's your thoughts on this? And then they can say, okay, this will work for you. Or, you know what, I don't think this is a good idea for you because of this. But you can try whatever you like. But to not take any of that kind of advice to me and follow up with your primary, because if you're really that concerned about it, my thing is, if it raised a red flag enough for you to try it and it's not something like nutritional or something like that.
Well, my whole thing is like, how do you, are you just watching it and be like, oh, I have that? I mean, how do you know what your diagnosis is? I don't get it. Like, you have to go to a doctor. I would never just watch the doctors and hope and pray that they talk about what I have today so I can find a cure for it.
They might talk about something and you might say, oh, you know, I do have brittle fingernails and maybe I do have a thyroid issue. They do a lot of like blanket diagnosis. Like they'll say something like, do you have a thyroid issue? And they'll go through all the different symptoms with you.
See, that's why I don't watch it, because I'd be like, yep.
And then if you get the press on your neck.
See,
and, you
that's
know,
why I don't even watch it.
But my thing is, here's the thing. I think it's, for instance, if it's a way to talk with people about potential symptoms of things like stroke and heart attack and things like, I think it's a good platform to talk about awareness about health issues. Mm-hmm. But I think you got to be careful because we already have where people want to self-diagnose. They get online because of the internet.
Right.
And you saw what happened with image recognition software. Be careful what you find on the internet. What was that commercial with the State Farm? If the internet said it, it must be true.
Right.
No. It had to come from someplace. But the bottom line is that people already try to self-diagnose going to places like WebMD. Which is a good starting point. But at the end, you really need to go see your primary care physician. Mm-hmm. But one key thing they said in the study, and I do agree with this, a lot of primary doctors have poor bedside manner.
Yes, they do. Because it's in and out. Just get in and out.
Well, how many patients can I see in the course of a day? Because I need to make sure I can get all the billings I need.
Yes.
When you actually, if you find a doctor that makes you feel like they're willing to take the time to talk with you, that's golden to me.
Yes.
And the primary I really liked. I got mad when they changed our whole insurance, and I couldn't use that doctor anymore because it took me a long time to find somebody.
I was gonna say it takes a long time to find that
who really has
kind of doctor.
Good bedside manner and sits down and talks with you and asks questions beyond maybe what your just initial or chief complaint is. Okay, so how's everything else? You know, I mean, look at your chart and say, well, last time you were here, this was this, and this. How is that going? Are you still having any of those symptoms? I'm always highly impressed when someone just calls to do a follow-up call.
Right.
Like, hey, you know, we prescribed this for you. How are you feeling? We want to reschedule to have you come back in. It's just that overall, it's comprehensive.
My daughter's doctor, and I know she's going to be mad because once you turn 18, you can't go to the
she's a pediatrician.
Yeah. But her name is Dr. Savage, Judith, and she is stellar with that. She will call and be like, oh, we prescribed this. We were calling for a follow-up call. And, like, she is stellar with that. And she'll ask me questions and talk to her and get a chart and let's try this and stuff. Stellar. And so I'm so sad that we're going to lose because there's not a lot of doctors like that anymore.
There's not a lot of them. Unfortunately, insurance has really made a lot of people, and doctors especially, because there have been cuts and change in healthcare and payment. We all know that. The Affordable Health Act, people are like, so that's why they feel it's demonized, it's bad. But a lot of it's turned into how many patients can I see in the course of a day?
Yes.
Because that's more billings that I can have. So it is really sad that it's a lack of bedside manner that may often make people kind of resort
hesitant to go to the doctor.
Not to mention, before the Affordable Health Care Act, people couldn't afford to go.
Right.
So sometimes seeing something like this, people might have decided that
was an alternative,
which is not a good one.
Right.
And some people are hypochondriacs. Let me say this:
I am. That's why I don't.
They don't need to watch some of this stuff because they start going, I think that's
me.
Wait, right?
Yes.
I feel a lump.
Yes.
It's not good.
Yes.
It's not good for some people because all of a sudden they've diagnosed and they've gotten cancer, all kinds of stuff, and they're just overreacting.
I've given myself toe cancer before. I'm like, I know it's toe cancer. I just know it all of the time. I'm crazy.
How does that?
I don't know. I was like, my toe keeps throbbing and something's wrong. I was like, I bet you toe cancer. I got it. I know, all the time. So I don't watch stuff like that because I am like, I freak out. Like, oh God, yes, I've diagnosed. I've had toe cancer, people.
I enjoy the ones more when they kind of stick to those marginal conversations like nutrition, health stuff. Just something that if you try drinking lemon water every day, it's not going to kill you.
Right.
It's not something that's going to be bad. Or if you already know, for instance, you're diagnosed with hypertension or something like that, that you can just, go ahead and do they recommend something, even though be careful to make sure that, because for instance, especially with medications, what people don't realize, this is interesting, that a lot of medications actually performing the way they're supposed to has a lot to do with your diet. Like sometimes if it says don't eat on an empty stomach, there's a reason why it tells you not to do that.
Yes.
And sometimes that means for medication to really work the way it's supposed to.
You
and here's the thing. And it might require that you consume like 1,500 calories minimum in order for that drug to be effective.
There's some medicines you have to drink milk with. They'll tell you to drink milk and like all those things.
And sometimes people just say, well, here's medication. Any questions, just let us know. No.
Right.
How about you take the time to explain, look, I'm giving you something here that make sure you drink it with milk, make sure you have 1,500 calories, because really in order for it to work well, these are some parameters for this particular medication.
Yes.
It's the small things that make a difference. And I do believe, because Dr. Oz seems so warm and fuzzy and the doctor's one was cute, people get caught up into that because they seem like that's the kind of doctor I would like sitting across from me in my doctor's office.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think it's easy for people to sometimes trust a TV doctor more than their primary.
Well, don't do that. Go to your own physicians, guys.
All right, so that wraps up today's show. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
That was fun.
Hanging out with you. Of course, Rob G on the ones and twos. Thank you for the Rob J Midday Mix. Of course, always fun hanging out with Nikki Braden. Where can everybody find you?
I am on Twitter and Facebook at Nikki Braden, the Nikki Braden on Instagram.
That's right. You can find me at the Maya Akai Show on Facebook and Twitter. Check out my website, mayakai.com, for podcasts and videos. We're back on Wednesday.
Yes, we are.
11 to 3. Make sure you join us.
Be good, guys.
Everybody, enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Bye, y'all.
Join the conversation. Call at 708-223-0030 or get social with the show via Facebook and Twitter at The Maya Akai Show or Instagram at Maya Akai.